All right, we are happy to report that it looks like Paul Pelosi will be okay, but he did get severely, brutally attacked, as police said. He is still in a hospital recovering. We don't know the nature or the degree to those wounds. Others had reported swelling on the brain that was being treated. We just don't know, so we're not hazarding guesses on that treatment, just that we hope and continue to believe the doctors say he will be okay. Nancy Pelosi is with him, but it does bring up an issue that's come up again and again in this environment where attacks on boldface names and politicians tend to mirror what's going on in our country with the rising crime wave itself. Sean Duffy is joining us right now. Of course, Sean is the former Wisconsin congressman, served 8 years in Congress. I just thought of that. That's a long time, and he's a kid now. He's still a young guy now. You know, Sean, it's always good to see you. And I was watching your better half, Rachel Campus Duffy, this morning, and she was reminding on Fox and Friends how you guys had received death threats. You're quite familiar with this and how scary that is, especially when it involves your family. And I just wonder what the solution is. You know, we just had a Secret Service agent on, said, you know, that's going to be a big and expensive deal if you want to widen protection for folks. But what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think we need protection for every member of Congress, especially when they go home. But there's certain times when my family received threats, or my wife did, or my kids did. That all happened. When that happens, there needs to be resources available to come out and actually, you know, provide some additional support and security to members of Congress. But every member doesn't need a security detail like the Speaker or the Leader of the House. But, you know, I think what's important, Neil, is the fact that, like the president said, everyone needs to condemn violence, not just outside of politics, but specifically inside of politics. And I think you've seen Republicans come out and without any reservation, condemn the violence against Paul Pelosi. No one should be threatened physically with violence if you disagree with them politically. And I don't know what as you mentioned this, I don't know what the purpose behind this attack was. But I also think we need Democrats to come out and say, you know what, we are going to condemn, you know, those who are protesting outside of Supreme Court justices' homes. We're not going to blame the Democrat Party when Steve Scalise is shot and almost killed. You can't play the political one-upsmanship, blaming one party for the violence that happens in the country. And I guess I wish I would have more Democrats who were condemning the violence in the streets of 2020 instead of calling it mostly peaceful protests. Everyone has to stand unified against any kind of violence in America, and especially against politicians, because you play this out, Neil, and just because we disagree with someone on the political front, we're going to, you know, try to personally harm them or their family. That is a bad future for this country. And we all have to come together as one American family and condemn all of it.
Yeah, you know what I also worry about, Sean, and I'm old enough to remember 1968. I'm old enough to remember when you live in a divisive environment. Of course, that was the Vietnam War and protests and what have you, but it escalated. You know, we all remember the 1968 Democratic Convention coming closely after the assassination of Bobby Kennedy, which came just, you know, 2 months after the assassination of Martin Luther King. We remember 4 years later the attack on George Wallace. They're indiscriminate and random but brutal, and I know what happens when the tenor and the rhetoric gets extreme. I'm not linking the two, but I worry about it. What about you?
Well, I think you make a good point. Now, I was 5 years away at that point from riding my trike, so I wasn't born yet at that time, so I don't remember that, Neil.
Just incredible. Yeah, rub it in. Go ahead.
Yeah, but to that point, I mean, there seemed to be, and maybe you can tell us this, there seemed to be unified rejection of that violence. Both parties were rejecting that kind of action for political purposes. And that's what has to happen here. We all have to come together and say, listen, this doesn't have any place. I mean, you don't want to go serve and have your wife or your husband threatened in their home. Now, one other thing that I am concerned about is Capitol Police normally protects the home of the Speaker and the Leader, right? They just don't, you know, come home one day and, you know, they do a mini sweep of the residence. I have to imagine there was some presence at the home of the Pelosi's. I don't know, was that security called off? Was it pushed back? The question also asked, I mean, they're very wealthy people. Where was the security system in the home? Those details we don't know yet, but it's going to come to light as we go through these next couple of days. But really important questions that have to be answered, again, on those who have targets on their back. how do we protect them? I look like someone like AOC. I disagree with her till the ends of time, Neil. I don't agree with her politically at all. But she has a right to be safe. She was elected by the people of her district. Her fiance has a right to be safe, and no one should threaten them violently. They should all engage in this arena of debate and conversation. And that's another point, Neil. If we don't talk to each other, if we can't have a free-flowing conversation where people can express their ideas and they tamp them down because one side is saying your ideas are violence, your words are violence, well, then you start to see people act in really non-productive ways like this. Debate is always the best form to let out energy, to let off steam.
Right.
You don't allow that in a society, and bad things can happen, and bad ideas get into people's minds as a point of retaliation, which is never good.
Yeah, but your point about maybe rethinking whether those higher up in Congress or higher up, let's say cabinet officials and all, are given more protection at their homes. I guess that's being debated as we speak. That's where you would limit it, right? To people who are high up, not everyone?
No, I would say the homes, even when the speaker or the leader or the whips are gone, should still have protection because they come home to those places. Their families are there who are also targets. But I think you need to have a force within the Capitol Police when members are, it could be a week's period of time. It could be a couple months where someone's getting higher threats to them and their family. You got to be able to send a force out to protect the family during those high-risk times, but not at 535 members of Congress do not need protection of 7 days a week throughout the year. Not necessary, and it costs way too much money. But when you do need it, you want it, and you want the Capitol Police to have the resources available to come to your community and provide that protection.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head when you just talk. Everyone has to bring it down a notch or two. I mean, you should hear the nasty emails I get, and you just, I know you don't get anything like that, Sean, but I sometimes feel very vulnerable. But it was great.
Everyone loves me, Neil.
Yeah, I know. Everyone loves you. That's right. I still can't believe you must have been 18 years old when you were in Congress. 8 years. Anyway, it's good seeing you, Sean. Thank you so much.
You too, Neil.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.